All right, here's our oncologist in Dallas, Dale. I'm glad that you called. Welcome. I'm glad you held on. Welcome to the program, sir.
Hi, Rush. You set me up with the story about the need to apologize because you screwed up in the post story. There is really a cut in Medicare, and here's what it is. Medical oncologists who see and treat patients in their offices are allowed to charge for the pharmaceuticals which they purchase a thing called ASP, which is average sales price, plus 6%, which is about, lets them break even when you figure the overhead of dealing with the patient. That's right. The Medicare situation.
That's right.
There's a 2% cut, and it's not 2% of 6%. Their reimbursement goes down to 4% of the plus ASP. And that means that they're actually absorbing a loss on each Medicare patient they treat.
But wait, that's not what story says. Story says
you didn't get it right either, I guess.
Well, no, the story says you're turning them away. The story says you're refusing to treat them.
I can't tell you much about that one way or another. You got to take care of the people.
Well, the point of the story is that the doctors are turning cancer patients away and not giving them the drugs, not treating them because of the sequester.
Some may. It happens. The organization that I'm familiar with is not, as far as I know, doing that. But here's the deal. Medical oncologists in community practice in many parts of the country have had to close their offices because they can't do business giving away more than they're taking in.
Well, but that happened before the sequester. That's just part of Obamacare.
Yeah, but this hit, which reduces their Medicare margin by 1/3,
right,
is not acceptable to them, and some of them, I suppose, are saying, "Hey, you're going to have to go somewhere else to get your care." Okay, well, sorry about that.
Let me read to you from the Washington Post story. You tell me if this is right. It says here, medications for seasoned citizens, my word, medication for seniors, usually covered under the optional Medicare Part D, which includes private insurance, but because cancer drugs must be administered by a doctor, they are among a handful of pharmaceuticals paid for by Part B, which covers doctor visits and is subject to the sequester cut. The federal government typically pays community oncologists for the average sales price of a chemotherapy drug plus 6%, cover the cost of storing and administering the medication. Since oncologists can't change the drug prices, they argue the entire 2% cut will have to come out of the 6% overhead, and they are refusing to treat patients because of that.
Yeah, it's not, the 6% overhead is being reduced to 4% by the cut that the government instituted. Medical oncologists are very upset about that.
Doctor, who reduced the margin? Who picked this 2% reduction?
CMS sets that, and it's funny, over the years
CMS?
It's wobbled up and down. Your question again?
Who is CMS? CMS says that.
Well, actually, that's the division of the Department of Health and Human Services that oversees Medicare.
Okay, right. Okay, so the government's doing this.
Yeah.
All right. They're laying it off on you in this story.
Of course. Why would they want to take the blame when they can get away? It's like you said.
Well,
do it and then apologize profusely.
Yeah, but you and I really don't disagree in what's happening here in the bottom. Well, the government's laying all this off on you. And when I say the government, in addition to trying to make it look like the Republicans are responsible for this, because it's the Republicans who did the sequester when they didn't. And I don't know. The sequester really doesn't have any real cuts from a baseline.
It does in that one sense, because and that's why I picked up the phone and called you, because there really is a reduction, and I'm in touch with my colleagues who tell me that this is a source of great concern for them because they're already closely hauled on their margin.
I know. How close are you just pulling out of the system because of that?
Oh, you can't do that.
What's to prevent you from setting up your own private practice with cash-paying patients? You don't even mess with all this.
I don't think Rush, some of these drugs are really expensive, and I don't think a cash-paying patient that is going to be able to ante up $18,000 for a single treatment of certain of the newer, really, really sophisticated anti-cancer drugs. It just won't work.
How effective are they?
Really surprisingly so. When you've been around as long as I have, it's wonderful to see that things have gotten better to the degree that they have gotten better.
Okay, so but back to, I just want one point of clarification. I'm not trying to set you up. Look, if I'm wrong in the premise of the question, feel free to say so. But I'm looking at this, and it seems to me that the Secretary of Health and Human Services could have chosen to get whatever money or not spend whatever money somewhere else. She did not have to cut your overhead.
Wouldn't have made as good a press, though, would it?
All right, well, then you're answering my question. So it was done purposely to generate a story like this.
Absolutely.
And make you guys look like bad guys, make the Republicans look like bad guys, make both of you look like you don't care. You're only in it for the money.
I think I was listening to you a few weeks ago when the history of the sequester, I put it squarely at the front door of our president.
Right. And he also said during a debate with Romney that it wasn't going to happen. But it was also his idea. It was one of his ideas to make sure that what we're going through now didn't happen. He thought the Republicans would cave at the thought of defense budget cuts. He thought they would never, ever let that happen. And they finally called his bluff on it, and that's where we are. So now they're in damage control and blaming everybody else, like you, the sequester itself, and then trying to transfer blame for that to the Republicans. So, Dale, I appreciate your call. I thank you much. And